I've been making videos a lot because I can't use X. I mean, I can scroll it, but I can't. I'm shadow banned, so I can't really use it. I can't post and do replies for the shadow ban reset if it works at all. So there was this guy who came here illegally in 2019 as a teen, and apparently he has ties to MS-13, the MS-13 gang, and America deported him to El Salvador to he's in El Salvador prison right now, and the left is up in arms over Trump. Just like, I don't have to bring him back because like he didn't get his due process. Apparently our Supreme Court wants to let every single person who came here illegally have a due process, so they don't want to basically deport anybody. These people came here illegally and they've already broken the law. I don't care what you do, you need to go. When we have 50 million people on welfare, there's no excuse for these people on welfare to not do the jobs that these illegals will do for way cheaper. So the whole notion, and I'm not saying that like every person on welfare, the 50 million, obviously there's kids that can't do jobs and elderly, but yeah, there is able-bodied people that can work. They just don't want to. I mean, when the government lets people buy EBT and junk food with tax-paying dollars, it's kind of like, fuck you, dude. And this is what you get. Like the left is all worried about some illegal that came here, which I really don't give a fuck. I don't care. He needs to go. He came here illegally. I don't give a fuck about his due process. He's not a citizen. The left is acting like we're deporting actual citizens, and that is not happening. They push this propaganda. And I don't care about the Supreme Court's decision either. Where were they when Biden was saying basically surge the border? Surge the border before he was president. Where were they at? Oh, nowhere. So we just had an influx of like millions, tens of millions of people that came here due to Biden basically being lenient on our immigration laws. So like nobody says anything about that. It's okay for the left to do what they want, break whatever law that they want, not follow whatever law they want. They pick and choose whatever law they want to follow. And then they expect the other side, if they get in, to do the same thing. I'm seeing that there's this his name is not Ben Shapiro, it's like Robert Shapiro. He's a congressman or a senator or whatever, or governor of what is it? Pennsylvania. And I guess his house was arsoned when his family was asleep in the middle of the night. And all I see is like the left saying, oh, it's MAGA. MAGA's doing this because he's a Democrat. And especially like Ed Crassus, and he was hammering hard on this yesterday. Basically saying it was, he didn't say specifically, but he was like hinting. It's such a ridiculous thing to me. It's so hard to decipher propaganda on either side at this point. So it's like you can fall in easily with any type of propaganda on either side. Possibly I've been falling into propaganda. I'm just trying to do the best I can do, man. I'm human and whatever, but I think it's kind of weird how the chosen ones who are like, the left hates the chosen ones. They've shown this. They're picking Hamas over the chosen ones, and they keep on defending these people. It's absolutely crazy what they're doing. So that tells me that they're trying to destroy America, which doesn't make any sense, because if, let's just say, the chosen one's new homeland is Israel, well, why are you trying to destroy America if we are your greatest? It doesn't make any sense. It's like me trying to go to work, and the only way I can make money, and I don't have any type of safety net from the government or anything, is, you know, I need my limbs to be able to work and make money, but I start chopping them off so I can starve. I just don't understand. It's like, okay, then we'll turn our back on Israel, man, and then we can just let everyone do what they want with Israel. Is that what people on the left want? I don't even understand how these people are on the left anymore. You know, it just seems like I don't understand. I just think that it's like, if the chosen ones are trying to divide and destroy America, like, you're doing the same thing to yourself. You know, it's quite clear that the stuff I've been talking about of, you know, politicians gonna get, I've been hinting at, because I don't want it to happen, man. You know, like I said, I don't want rich people to be targeted. I don't want any of this crap. I want to live in harmony. I want everyone to, like, prosper. I want, you know, everyone to do good. I don't want people, like, living high on the hog and acting like, you know, this is Hunger Games, you know, where they think they're better than everybody or whatever. But, and that's what's crazy about this simulation or whatever God's doing, is like, why are you not punishing these people, man? Like, these people obviously live in some type of major bubble, and it's like, why are you punishing regular people like myself, you know, with humbleness constantly, when these people seemingly go unscathed from any type of consequences? And it's like, they keep on, like, going harder and harder and harder, and it's like, well, okay, then, like, the left is very radical. You know, when I see these leftists, they're sitting here saying this and that, they always, the only thing they ever go back to is January 6th, when you see all the left becoming very violent. You know, we live in a society where, like, this stuff is just overlooked. I've seen so many videos of the left, like, stealing from Brandon Tate right in front of the police. They do nothing. I seen a video last night of some Hamas supporter in New York take a swipe at the cop, and he did nothing. However, if it was the other way around, if it was a Trump supporter doing it, what would happen to him? He would go to prison. And this is what I'm talking about. And this is who is running the show? Like, who is caught? Like, what is the end goal of this? For people to rise up and then have a French Revolution against you, rich people, whoever you are, man. And I think the people in charge, the ones who's trying to cause this chaos, are some of the chosen ones. I don't think it's every single chosen one. That's the thing. Like, I'm not on to the, like, oh, it's all of them. It's all of them. No. I think it's some of them. I think that there's some prominent figures at the top that, you know, they live in a damn bubble. But they don't see that, like, they think that they're completely insulated by, like, their policies. And, you know, it's kind of like the Martha Stewart thing. Like, yeah, let's allow all the illegals to come here, and then, you know, all these states at the border have to, like, fund this. They have to feed these people. They have to make sure these people are okay. They got to use their state tax dollars to do this, while the people up, you know, the Northeast, they're insulated. They don't have to worry about it, because, like, they're so far from where it's at. So that's why a lot of these governors started shipping these people up to them. And then what happened? As soon as, like, the illegals who they welcome so much come into their doorstep, they want them out. You know, that's what I'm saying with the hypocrisy from the left. I don't believe anything these people say anymore, and it's hard for me to. And I wish it wasn't like this, but this is the way they've chosen. And, like, it's coming out that the guy, I don't know yet, this is so early, so I'm still trying to decipher what the heck to believe. You know, Ed Krasinski's basically saying blah 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 blah, probably MAGA, and then I see a couple of MAGA people coming out posting, like, you know, the dude's got a mask on, you know what I mean? And I think I seen one that said F Trump or whatever. The guy had, like, a Snapchat or something. And it's just like, what do we, like, it's the left who's the one threatening Elon Musk's life? Who's the one that's who's threatening Trump's life? You know, I have seen a lot of MAGA, and I haven't seen hardly any people threaten Biden's life when he was president. And the ones that did, they got scooped up immediately. It is very rare for MAGA, the people on the right, to come out and even cause violence. You know, and it makes me wonder, like, are these protesters are probably paid to do this? Well, who's funding this? Why are you trying to destroy America? And the whole thing with the chosen ones genociding Gaza and like falling back onto, oh, back 80 years ago we were genocide. It's like, dude, you're genocide. It's okay for you to genocide people, but like then you get genocided, that now you have an issue with it. Like, people are just tired of this shit, man. I'm tired of this shit. Like, if we're not gonna follow like the rule of law and have equality where some people are above the law, and like, you will have a major revolution, man. And I'm hoping that Trump fixes this crap, but he's not gonna be able to fix everything. People are like, you can't live like that. People will revolt. There will be consequences. And this isn't what I'm advocating for. I'm not preaching it. I just am observing, and I'm like looking at patterns, and I've already seen, you know, like Luigi. I don't like, he's still in court. So it's like he allegedly, even though I think that he made a manifesto, like saying what he's going to do, but it's like, I'm seeing like Taylor Lorenz call him a morally good person when he shot somebody in the back. Okay, like how is that a morally good person? Like, she's like infatuated with this person, and she thinks that he's like a murderer is a good person, morally good person. So as long as you go with the narrative with these people on the left, and I think they're radicals. I think that most normal people aren't paying attention to what is happening. But it's like, how can you call somebody, like, here we go, look at this. As soon as I cross, every time, there's no cars. Watch this. They're all disappearing. There'll be nothing. But, you know, I have to wait for everything. It's so annoying. All these cars out of nowhere. So stupid. Okay, so like, and this is just one person, but she's a radical leftist that is like being okay with this dude just murdering random people. And he's not just a random person; he's a CEO titan. But that's okay. That's okay, apparently. I guess I gotta sit down here. I'm gonna have to wait all damn day because, you know, so stupid. But I mean, this is that time. People are going to work and everything. So I think it's absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous what these people are doing, man. You know, this trade war with China, there's all this like stuff coming out. I have to be here all day, apparently. Here they come. I'm just gonna cross. I'm just gonna fucking cross because I'm not gonna keep waiting. These people can wait. These people are going to wait. Sick of fucking waiting. They're supposed to stop for me anyway. So anyway, it's just ridiculous at this point. With everything that's going on, it's like, okay, China's coming out with like, I don't know what to believe. You know, they're saying like, oh, we construct a lot of these luxurious bags, which doesn't really affect me because I don't care about that crap. You know, they're coming out with videos on TikTok. I don't know if it's propaganda, if it's the truth. I mean, it's hard to believe China because they've been so under wraps with everything when you don't show transparency at all. And then like, all of a sudden you're starting to come out with more transparency about China, it makes me wonder, like, it definitely, I want to be like, yeah, it does make sense what they're saying. You know, basically what they're saying is like, the like handbags or whatever, mostly constructed in China for cheap. And what they do is they get them all, like some type of European place gets these handbags, and they might put on like a logo or an extra fastener or whatever, I don't know. So it's like 80% of the bag is just made by slave labor, and people have the perception that it's completely made by Europeans, I guess. And like these luxury items. So it's just like, dude, at some point, if, like, what I think, this is what's gonna happen. You might see some extremists, you know, get pissed off and have financial trouble from like the MAGA supporters or whatever. You might see that. I'm not saying that's not gonna happen. But what I'm saying is that it's mostly on the left, especially right now since they don't have a lot of power. It's mostly on the left. It's mostly on the left right now. You know what I mean? And yeah, mostly people who you know voted for Trump are hardworking people that we don't have enough. Like for me, I mean, I could go out to like, and I was contemplating it, going to like some different places that, you know, maybe like Ann Arbor or like some places in Detroit where they might have these protests against Trump and corruption, government waste. You got Bernie Sanders out. I was thinking about it, but like, I'm like, dude, I'll have 1 week out here and I don't want to get into trouble. I'm about to move and I just want to stay out of trouble. You know, that's something that if like I had everything, you know, paid for, taken care of, I could do something like that, go on the ground, because nobody knows who I am, and I can actually like pose as one of them and just start asking questions and exposing these people. But it's not like I have much of a following anyway, so it's kind of pointless. I think what Trump is doing, I am largely in favor of. I think that he's trying to help our country. He's trying to help out the regular man. And from what I've seen from the Democrats with their leadership is they put illegals over the working class. And now that America's like, they've seen this, they've seen how dysfunctional they are and how fascistic these people are. Like, this is propaganda. Like, you project onto the others what you are. That's propaganda. So, you know, they sit here and say MAGA's cult, you know, this and that, and like, in my experience with MAGA, I see a lot of like infighting. I see a lot of disagreements of opinions, and on the left I see you have to agree with the narrative or we ostracize you and kick you out. That's why you see RFK and Tulsi and all these people defect from the Democrats and go towards MAGA, because MAGA is moderate. You know, the January 6th, were there people who committed crimes? Were there like I hear this, oh, Trump pardoned child molesters or whatever. It's like, how are they out, man? I like, how is like them going into the Capitol? And I'm not saying what, like, I'm not defending that crap, but I'm saying like he didn't pardoned the child molesting. Maybe he did. I don't think you can do a blanket pardon of everything, but maybe you can. I don't know. Maybe that's what he did. But it's like he doesn't know. Like, I guarantee you, if he found out that he's got so much on his plate, okay? They act like he doesn't have a lot on his plate. They act like they didn't hand him a shit plate. They act like he can just like flip everything overnight and make everything great after all the destruction they've done for us. The destruction of, like, why is China? Why? Maybe it's just one city that looks immaculate. Maybe a lot of their cities are like destruction, like they look like our cities. Who the hell knows? You know, they want to put the perception like every single city looks like that. Well, maybe it's just that one city that looks amazing, like Beijing or something. But like, when you have lack of transparency in China, I'm skeptical of what you're saying. Why haven't you came out before? Why haven't you shown us? And this is the problem. This is why I don't trust what China says. You know, some of it makes sense, you know. That's what they're coming out like, our masters are the banks. I have a big problem with the banks. I don't care who owns the banks. I think that like it's, you know, the high interest and all this crap. I think it's weird how they can charge more interest than like I think that since the Fed has it at a certain interest rate for everyone, that's what it should be across the board. If the Fed raises the interest rate to 22%, it is what it is. Then, I mean, our credit cards go up in that value anyway. But if it goes down, well, then they shouldn't be able to charge that interest. It should go based off the Federal Reserve. And like, that's why it's confusing to people. And then somebody can come on here and say, oh, blah, blah, this and that. Like, this is like, it should be like conformed all the way through, you know. I mean, that's what I'm trying to say. So if I get a mortgage or whatever, or a credit card, or a car loan, it should be same interest rate all the way through. There should be locked in interest rates where it can't go up or down, like they do with mortgages, and there could be floating ones where they're more risky, you know what I mean? But, you know, like, these banks have been just making tons of money off of us, and at some point you can only siphon so much value out of regular people until they just say, fuck you. People mostly are normies in the society, and they just want to live their lives. They don't want to wake up to civil war. Who the hell wants to wake up to bombing in their backyard? Nobody. You know, we want peace. We want peace here. In certain sectors, I guess, because we're not doing nothing about the inner cities. I think it's weird how we're not rounding up the gangs. I've always wondered, like, why are we worried about other countries and what's going on there, like Ukraine? And we're not worried about the cartels in Mexico shipping drugs here. You know, human trafficking. We don't really care about that, but we're just worried about Ukraine. And I'm gonna say this too. I'm gonna say the same thing that I'm gonna say. You know, I say to the left. You know, if you're such a backer of Israel, you need to, you know, put some skin in the game, and you can go over there on the front lines and fight for them. You know, this whole notion of I support them, but from afar, needs to end. I say the same to the left. If you're such a supporter of Ukraine and you care about their democracy, perhaps you should get on the front lines and show your support for these people. I'm only for war if it's completely and utterly necessary. And we're getting to a point, and we would have, if Trump didn't get elected, we would have had a severe revolution. I don't know what that would have consisted of. But I do know that we would have had some type of rebellion against the government, because it's completely oppressing us. And this is what pisses me off about the politicians, the rich people, is they keep on working against the people who are propping you up. I looked up on, this whole trade war with China, we're the customers. And I looked up on AI, Grok, yesterday, and I said, who's more important? Obviously, both sides are important, because you can't have one side without the other. Who is more important, the customer or the seller? And the customer is most important, because there wouldn't be a market without the customer. I've seen companies like completely destroy their brand by not caring about their customers. Because of DEI crap. When you run a business, you just want to sell products. You don't want to get into politics, especially like visibly for everybody to see, because you want to be able to. It's like Michael Jordan said, like, I sell Jordans or Nikes to Republicans and Democrats. So you want both sides. And what I was saying is like how some people are being debanked on the right. The truckers in Canada are being debanked. I see similarities on, I have a friend I'm like in Canada, and she's like telling me, this and that, and it sounds like similar. It seems like the New World Order, whatever that consists of, just obviously it's rich people who are in the New World Order. Why isn't our government, going after these people? If these people are like paying protesters to cause division, and you're seeing like propaganda in the media, who, like you see on the left, it's always anti-Trump, always. You don't see hardly any support at all, even if he does good. Everything is anti-Trump. It's like the only policy that the left has is, I hate Trump. That's it. I hate Trump. That's all they have. Because they flip on everything. They don't stand for, they will, whatever suits them in that time being to gain them power, that's all they care about. They don't care about whatever they stand for. And it's one thing to like have new information and be like, oh, okay. But if it's just like, oh, I'm just gonna oppose the other side because, like, yeah, they make sense, but I just want to oppose them because I don't like them, because I want my side to win, and it goes both ways. I think it's ridiculous. You know what I mean? I'm seeing it way more with the left, like flipping on things. I am not for the government taxing the rich outright because of government waste. I've seen, I'm not gonna edit this out because, like, who cares? I'm seeing government waste. I'm seeing these people defending government waste, trying to say that Elon, with no evidence, they're saying that Elon is like destroying Social Security, and they have no idea what they're talking about. What good is Social Security is when it completely gets shut off at some point? It's not going to get, it. And I think the more that we print, the faster it gets shut off. That's what I think. And then I could be kind of wrong about that. But, it's more complex than that. So it's just like utterly ridiculous. Like, what these people stand for is, they stand for nothing. They stand for destruction. It seems like they stand for destroying our country. I'm hearing these people are so arrogant. Like, they're sitting here like mocking people like me who, it's not that we want to work manufacturing job. It's like they pay more than regular jobs. And the more of those jobs that are here, the better it is for us to be able to switch jobs when we don't like it. I've seen it firsthand here when the recession in 08, and after that, the aftermath of that, where I felt like I was stuck in that job and I couldn't go nowhere else because there was no other jobs here in Michigan. So like, even if like, so you have to hang on to your job even if you get treated like crap. Back then I was forced to work a ton of overtime. I didn't really want to work, but I was forced. And back then if I decided to leave, I would lose my job. So they completely made me a slave. And yeah, I was willingly, it wasn't completely, but like when you hold somebody's livelihood above their head like that, where, you know, I worked my 8, 10, it was 10 hours at the time, and then I get forced to a different department, have to go put in 4 hours over there, 3-4 hours or whatever, and I don't want to, but you're saying if I don't do it, I'm fired. Like, that is, and that's the only livelihood that I can find to be able to sustain my life. You know, that's why. And another thing too is like, this is what I'm saying, where we're going to have a lot of people, if AI continues to accelerate its innovation, there's going to be a lot of office jobs that are going to be gone. We won't need them. So what are we going to do with these people? And how would the UBI work? Like, I definitely want to know who's going to pay for the UBI. You know, who's going to pay for the labor to create food for these people, or housing, or electricity. You know, people aren't going to work for free, you know. And that's where I say, like, when we have more like robots doing the jobs, you know, then you can kind of like go ahead and do that. But we're not there yet. It's quite clear that a lot of these places are just continuously taking and not giving anything back. Giving back would be like using technology to have these, you know, like, there should be chaos in every single place, you know, basically. Unless like I'm talking about like the major companies. I'm not talking about mom and pop shops. I'm talking about these major corporations who just keep taking, and they've monopolized, and there's nothing else, there's nowhere else you can go. You know what I mean? Complete monopolization. And then our government doesn't do nothing about that. And I'm just tired of this shit, man. I'm tired of the double standards. I think that people are tired of like certain groups of people being held accountable and others not. Like the FTX guy, and I didn't really look it up, but I seen some posts on X, you know, who knows, but, and that's my fault, I should have looked it up. But if Trump pardoned him, that just like pisses me off, man. But that affects me personally, you know what I mean? So you know, just seeing these people not have to suffer the consequences, seeing insider trading, you know, like when the market crashed, and then like last week, and then you seen like people, like Trump said, buy up or buy whatever, and they're saying that's insider trading when he made it public and anybody could have bought. I mean, I think it's ridiculous that these people in Congress can even like do that, or their families, you know. I don't know. I think it's, I think these people have access to information we don't have, and it's just like, it's not fair to us. If they're gonna, then they should be transparent so everybody can know what to invest in. But if everyone had that, then they wouldn't have an advantage. You know what I mean? So I'm hearing the left finally come out, and the only reason that insider trading is a big deal to them is because of that. They have said nothing about insider trading. They didn't say anything about these, whether it's a Republican or Democrat, because both of them have. But you see a lot more on the Democrats who have made a lot of money off of insider trading. You know, you're not they'll say, oh, this and that, but like, when you see, dude, that must be nice to have a spouse that knows what to invest in. I gotta cut this off because I don't feel like yelling.